everybody, Joshua back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you my official review for Fantastic Four, the 2015 reboot, and ironically the fourth attempt to make a live-action adaptation of the Fantastic Four franchise. Now, of course, if you've not seen this movie, please check it out, or maybe, depending on the, your personal perception of the movie, maybe just wait until it comes out on VOD. But whenever you see this movie, please check it out because this review may contain spoilers. That being said, let's get into Fantastic Four, or as, most fans are calling it, Fan-4-Stick. That being said, first off, let's get it right out of the gate. I was a huge supporter of this movie. I will fucking take the pill. I'll swallow the pill and fucking admit it. I was a supporter of this movie. I really thought that this would be like the X-Men, fucking first class of the Fantastic Four franchise. I thought it was gonna, reboot the franchise, completely, recharge the comic book genre and give us something interesting and new with the family of the Fantastic Four. I'm just saying, when you grow up as a kid and you get introduced to comic books, and when you're introduced to Marvel, Fantastic Four is right up there with the X-Men and Spider-Man as characters in comic book series that you grow to love and you gravitate towards and you pick up and you read and you're like, these are amazing adventures. And Fantastic Four is an amazing comic book franchise. It's an amazing story, and amazing characters, amazing adventures, and has an amazing villain. And this movie doesn't really do justice to any of that source material. But that being said, let's get right into it. First off, this is not going to be a rant. If you're coming into this review expecting that, the guy who fucking made the Rant of Legends discussing Goku versus Superman, this is not going to be that. I don't want to sit here and rant about the movie because pretty much all the critics, YouTubers, and hell, even the director of this movie have bashed this film. So I don't think you need me to fucking rant about it. Everyone's done it pretty much a good job at doing it themselves. So that being said as well, if you want to hear more of my thoughts on Fantastic Four going into it, definitely go over to EvaScar23's channel. He'll be, somewhere in this YouTube channel. If it's not going to be that hard and difficult to find his channel. But that being said, go to EvaScar23's channel and check out the newest and recent episode of the podcast. It's titled "It's Clobbering Time," and all it is just him and I basically shitting on this movie and giving you our personal thoughts going into the movie and what is the future of the Fantastic Four franchise and basically what the fuck happened with this movie. That's essentially what that episode is. So if you really want to hear me rant about this movie, go over there, check out that episode. But that being said, let's get into Fan-4-Stick. That being, first off, this movie, of course, comes from the freaking studio that gave you X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm pretty sure after the reception of this movie, they want to take away that tagline. But essentially it is. It's 20th Century Fox, who did give us, hands down, one of the best comic book movies of last year. And of course gives us a new take with director Josh Trank of Fantastic Four, and stars Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, Jamie Bell, Toby Kebbell, and Reggie Cathy, and of course is based off a screenplay by Jeremy Slater, Simon Kinberg, and Trank himself. And obviously this entire movie is essentially one big, gigantic origin story to how the Fantastic Four come together, get their powers, and what they want to do with them afterwards. And going into the movie, this film had originally a vision, and that vision, it kind of gets scarce at some points in this movie, but overall you can see what director Josh Trank was kind of going for. Essentially, he wanted to go for a sci-fi horror element with this movie. He didn't want to treat it like, essentially, if you're a hardcore Fantastic Four fan or a hardcore comic book superhero fan, this is not the movie for you. Definitely do not see this movie if you're, thinking that this film is basically that. I'm pretty sure the trailers kind of tricked you. Hell, even the first 10 minutes of this movie kind of tricks you. But overall, that's not this movie. This movie is one big, giant origin story, and it has more of a horror element than it does superhero. And I think that was an interesting take that Josh Trank was going for, and I actually like that take. I mean, going into it, the first, act of this movie, like the first third, hell, even the second act, halfway, this movie's doable. It's fucking watchable. It's not perfect by any means. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't have flaws. It does, but it's pretty decent. I can watch it and be mildly entertained by it. Like, you can just sit there and watch it, and it tricks you. It's a very good trick, because it's like, you watch the first half and you're like, the fuck are the YouTubers talking? Fuck those YouTubers and the critics. This is fucking decent. And then your opinion change. It changes. Your fucking opinion changes, because this movie does a big switch, and it has a gigantic, steady but slow decline towards a completely different direction that this movie does not set up. However, I do enjoy the first and possibly second act of this movie. Essentially, the first 50 minutes of this movie are doable. Everything that happens after, like the first 40 to 50 minutes, watch that and then don't watch the rest. That's essentially all I can really say to you. Essentially, let's get into the premise and story of this movie. First off, it starts off in 2007, where we get a young Reed Richards meeting Ben Grimm for the first time, and they discover the fact that, Reed Richards, he has this obsession with creating a device that teleports him to different dimensions, possibly alternate parallel universes, and maybe alternate Earths and other planets across the galaxy. That's essentially his overall dream in life, is to create this one device. And Ben Grimm doesn't really have a goal in life other than just being best friends with Reed Richards, and they do a good job at doing that. Josh Trank, I think if there's anything to give him praise for, is giving these two characters a good dynamic, because in the comic books, Reed Richards and Ben Grimm have an amazing relationship. They're probably going to go down in history as the most buddy top 100 best comic book couples / best friends forever in comic book history. They're just they have that kind of relationship, and through time, you get a lot of really big, awkwardly used transitions into future points in the movie, where you get to see, obviously, Reed Richards meet Professor Franklin Storm, who is the father of Sue and Johnny Storm, played by Kate Mara and Michael B. Jordan. And of course, he's the director of the Baxter Foundation, which is a government sponsored research institution for young prodigies who are working on technology-based weaponry for the government, because that's essentially what everyone does in this fucking movie, which is make weapons for the government. But anyways, that being said, Franklin Storm decides to bring on Reed Richards to work on his developing project of a quantum gate, which was previously designed by Storm's protege, Victor Von Doom, who is played by Toby Kebbell and is kind of the antagonist of this movie, but not really. I don't know. It depends on your personal, I guess, perception of who he is. But essentially, Victor Doom was working with Dr. Storm on this project, but decides to bring on this new prodigy, Reed Richards, hopefully on creating this device to teleport humans to another part of the universe, or alternate universe, or some kind of world where we can, I guess, find out answers to our reality and our world and why we're here, or something like that. I don't know. It's very hard to come up with a reason for it's really difficult to find out why any character does anything in this movie, other than the fact that Franklin Storm, Reggie Cathy's character, basically just says a lot of cryptic shit, and basically says stuff like, you need to come together, you need to there's a future, you have a bright future, oh god, there's a whole bunch of nonsense that's coming out of this character's mouth. But other than that, overall, these characters, over montages, create this teleporting device with the help of Toby Kebbell's Victor Von Doom, and of course, the help with Johnny Storm's ingenuity and fucking perfect fucking engineering, which you never get to see, but somehow he's somewhat good at it. I don't know. Anyways, they create this device, and they decide one day that the government is actually going to, now that the experiment is successful and you can actually teleport stuff there, the government decides to take this project and use it for their own, to hopefully send astronauts and trained government officials to this parallel dimension, which they call, originally it's supposed to be the negative zone, but in the movie they call it Planet Zero. That's essentially what the name of the parallel dimension is. And of course, the team which consists of Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, for some reason, I don't know, he decides to bring him on because why the fuck not? Johnny Storm and Victor Von Doom decide to teleport there on their own, so without the help of the government, because they decide, hey, they worked on this fucking project. What the fuck? Fuck the government. We're gonna do this shit our own fucking way. And they decide to go over to Planet Zero, and then shit goes down. Apparently, the Earth that they're on just starts spewing out liquid green glowing goo all over the place. Victor Von Doom, spoilers, gets stuck on the planet. They think that he died, but whatever. They try to get back and teleport back to Earth. Sue Storm on a computer. No, she's not there. She's on a computer trying to help them to bring them back, and essentially they do come back, but horrifyingly deformed. Ben is a pile of rocks. Johnny is basically on fire and he's in pain, constant pain. Reed Richards is all stretchy and he doesn't know why and it hurts. And Sue Storm is invisible. A whole bunch of shit has gone wrong with these characters. And Reed Richards devotes his life and decides that he's going to find a way to fix his friends because that's all he really wants to do, because this was his fault, this was his device, his dream, and he ruined his best friend Ben, and he ruined his best friends and Sue Storm and Johnny and Victor, who gives a shit because he's on that other planet that we decided that he was dead. And that's pretty much it. That's essentially the plot of the movie. Everything that happens afterwards is pretty much where the movie shifts into two separate movies. That was the origin story. The second half is essentially the government has used Ben's powers as a government weapon to basically take out tanks and other kind of weaponry from other kind of armies or whatever, and they decide that Johnny Storm is next up on the list to become another weapon for the government's use. And Reed Richards is out there in the wilderness still discovering some kind of way to fix his friends. And on top of this, they decide to once again go back to the planet that ruined these people because, hell, because of no fucking reason at all. There's like two reasons. Number one, Franklin Storm wants to go back because he wants to find a cure with the help of Reed. The government wants to go back because they want more people with superpowers so they can use them as weapons because, hell, why the fuck not? We're the government. Anyways, they go back and they discover that Victor Von Doom is actually still alive and his suit, his containment suit, has shrunken and become part of his body, and now he's this deformed metallic glowing green thingamajig, and that's like the title of everything. That anything that's tech based in this movie, don't give it a title because they don't really do a good job at explaining it. So just call it the thingamajig, the teleporting thingamajig, the Dr. Dooma thingamajig. I don't know. There's fucking nothing in this movie really makes that much sense because they don't do a good job at explaining things. But overall, Victor comes back. He didn't really want to come back, but he does come back, and the government decides to use him as a weapon, but Victor has different plans, because you know what? He loves his new world, and he doesn't want the government to go into this new world, because you know why? Because he fucking loves it. He doesn't want the human race to ruin his planet the same way they ruined their own planet. So you know what he decides? He decides to kill everybody with super overpowered abilities, which doesn't really make sense but looks cool, and then decides to destroy the Earth because why the fuck not? He is overpowered and he doesn't really have that much purpose other than just being an overpowered being. And that's pretty much it. And then the characters come together, decide to stop Dr. Doom, and then this is where the major shift in this movie becomes, where, Reed Richards comes back, all these characters come together, and they decide, separately we cannot stop him, but together we can, and whatever, he's stronger than all of us, but not all of us whatever, all that superhero cliche bullshit, and they decide to fucking stop him. The day is saved. Dr. Doom is, spoilers, disintegrated and killed, and then, basically, they save the world or whatever, and the government decide, once again, the government has too much to do with this. Why is the government so, I don't know, the government is really into this movie. It's really annoying and really fucking stupid, whatever. Anyways, Reed Richards decides that we are going to take this facility, we're going to do whatever we want, and any kind of research that we do belongs to us, and we don't want any of the government coming in and doing and having hands in anything that we do. Essentially, he basically bitch slapped their ass and was like, "This is our facility. This is our name. We're the Fantastic Four," and that's the end of the movie. That's pretty much the end of the movie. That's what Fantastic Four, the 2015 reboot, is, and it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. First off, the first half of this movie, it's let's get into the positives, at least for me, what I personally liked out of this movie, and then we'll get into the collage of negatives and give you my final verdict. Overall, I like the relationship between Miles Teller and Jamie Bell. They had a good relationship, they had a good friendship, and that's something you need from the movie, because Ben and Reed have a great relationship in the comic books, and I think they did a decent job at portraying that in the movie. Moving off of that, Thing as a CGI character, I loved it. I think having an actor in a bodysuit just does not suffice. I mean, the character, the Thing, needs to be full-on CGI, just like the Hulk. The Hulk is a CGI character for a reason, because a guy in a suit just does not suffice anymore. That might have worked back in the 90s, but not anymore. So I think it was a good job that they decided just to motion capture Jamie Bell's performance and just have the Thing be a CGI character. Even though I wish it was a little bit more perfected, because there are certain scenes in this movie where the Thing just looks stupid and he looks drastically small. But overall, I think they did a pretty decent job at giving us a new and improved version of the Thing in comparison to prior versions of him in the live-action movies. Overall, other things I liked the horror sci-fi element of this movie. I know a lot of people have problems with that, because a lot of people feel like, the hardcore fans feel like, oh no, Fantastic Four needs to be superheroes, and it needs to be like the MCU, it needs to be colorful and jokey and comedic and all that cool other shit. For me, I didn't have a problem with it. I like the fact that they went all dark and depressing. I like the fact that they went really ultra-realistic-esque. I like the fact that they had this horror sci-fi element, because it works for the Fantastic Four. I like the fact that Reed Richards is ashamed of himself, and he feels responsible for the way everything went down. I like the fact that there's this big shift between Jamie Bell and Miles Teller's characters, where they're just like, we're not best friends anymore, and all that fucking weird. It's cliche. I'm not gonna deny that it is cliche and not perfected. But I liked it. I like how they did that. I like the horror sci-fi element of this movie. I think it was pretty well done for, taking a superhero team and making a horror sci-fi, Cronenberg kind of movie out of them. I like that effect. And I think it was somewhat well done for, the first half of this movie. Everything that happens afterwards, not really. But anyways, moving off of that, and another thing that I really liked about this movie has to be, I guess, the special effects. The special effects are not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they were pretty good. I think they accomplished somewhat good special effects when it came to, Michael B. Jordan becoming, Human Torch and doing his flame-on thing. I think they did a decent job at having Kate Mara doing her special abilities and becoming invisible. I think they did a decent job on that. And of course, if the last thing I really liked about this movie, I guess, and I might get shit for this, I might, and I'll accept it, but I actually liked Doctor Doom. I know fucking people despised Victor Von Doom when coming into this movie. A lot of people despised his look. A lot of people despised his powers. A lot of people despised the fact that he was the complete polar opposite of his comic book counterpart. And let's face it, Doctor Doom in the comic books, he's like the definitive Marvel villain. He is. He's one of the greatest Marvel villains of all time. And basically, kind of similar to the MCU, did not do justice to the villain of this movie. And I guess that was because of a lot of different elements. They obviously, going into this movie, they wanted to have Victor be his own character and be separate from the comic books, obviously. And to a certain extent, I think it worked. I think everything except for the part of his motives, I think I liked. Like, Toby Kebbell, even though he was way too emo, he was like Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker emo, which I don't think was great, but it worked. I mean, Victor Von Doom is kind of emo at the end of the day, so fuck it, why not? I like the fact that he was like he had this really interesting relationship with Sue and Reed. I like the fact that he was overpowered. I mean, like, that one shot that you saw in the TV spots where, like, Victor Von Doom is, like, walking through this hallway and motherfuckers' heads are exploding and shit. That's a badass scene. Ironically, it's the only good scene, but it's a pretty fucking badass scene. I'm just saying, like, the look, granted, not Doctor Doom, but I liked it. I thought he looked cool. I thought he had amazing powers. I mean, like, this is Josh Trank. That was his version of Doctor Doom, and I liked it. I think it had a very good Akira kind of feel to it. It had a good Chronicle feel to it, which was obviously inspired by Akira. So, I like that fact. I mean, granted, it's not Doctor Doom from the comic books, but in the realities of the context of this movie, I think it worked, and it was pretty badass. That scene, I'm just saying, that was a pretty badass scene. The only one, but a pretty good scene in and of itself. Everything else in this movie, I did not like. The directing's not really that good. Cinematography's not that great. The lighting is kind of terrible. The transitions amongst transitions are terrible. Whoever edited this movie needs to be fired. I'm just saying the transitions in this movie are so terrible. Like, there's so many cuts, and you don't know which scene fits into what scene. It just feels so cutty. And like the transitions were like, 7 months later, 1 year later, 12 years later, 20 hours later. It's like, what the fuck? Why are there so many transitions in this movie? It's ridiculous. The last freaking hour, like the last, I want to say 30 minutes of this movie, terrible, like the third act and the final boss battle, terrible fucking action sequences, terrible fucking overall sequence in it's just complete mess. It doesn't really they don't really feel like the Fantastic Four. Doctor Doom really has no purpose. The whole aspect of having Doctor Doom wanting to destroy the Earth doesn't make any sense. Doctor Doom wants to save the Earth. He wants to, control the Earth. He wants to be the ruler of Earth. But in this movie, he wants to destroy it. And you have, like, glimpses here and there of, like, Earth, humans destroyed the Earth. We can't save them. Screw them. We don't deserve to live anymore. And all that other emo bullshit. Oh, God. It drags you down. Like, this whole movie drags you down. It's like the Titanic. It's a slow but steady build up to nothing. And then you just sink to the bottom of the ocean. And you just feel depressed. And your head goes down. And you're just like, aw. That's how you feel. That's how this movie makes you feel. And it's just not a Fantastic Four movie by any stretch of the imagination. Which, in the context of the first act, gives you a good realistic tone of what that movie could have been, but the third act kind of just destroys it. I'm just saying, like, spoilers, but this is all I can really say. If you're going into this movie, whether that be with, Blu-ray, digital fucking copy, VOD, or if you're actually going to the theater to watch this movie, this is what you gotta do. Watch the first act, definitely. Watch the beginning all the way up until when they come back from Earth Zero and they find out they have powers and abilities. And the second Ben is like, Reed, come back, save me. And then Reed runs away like a fucking asshole. And then, like, the government comes in and is like, we're sorry, but we need you. And then spoilers, Ben's like, what do you want me to do? Stop right there, hold your fucking horses, take your fucking popcorn or your soda or where the fuck you bought, and get the fuck out of the theater. Just stop right there, because everything that happens post that scene is completely a 100% different movie that this first half does not set up perfectly. So please, right after that sequence, stop watching the movie, because everything else that happens is total dog shit. The action sequences aren't really that great, and of course the final boss battle, which is the third act of this movie, is just complete crap. It's just not good by any stretch of the imagination. So please, if you're going into this movie, and if you're a guy like me who had high hopes for this movie to do good, just watch that first half. Just watch the first 40 to 50 minutes of this movie and then not watch anything else. I'm just saying, like, the second they fucking transition, they're like, 1 year later, this movie just does not go anywhere good, and everywhere that you think it's gonna go good, it just does not, and it's just, oh my god, that's it. That's all you can really say. Oh my god, I can't believe you fall into a dark hole of nothingness. You know that scene in Ant-Man, spoilers, where like he fucking shrinks and starts shrinking into nothingness? That's how you feel when you're watching the third act of this movie. You're just entering nothing, and you just feel like your whole world is nothing. And everything you just watched is complete pointless and irrelevant because the second half of this movie is nothingness. It's pointless, it's stupid, it's amateurish, and I don't like it by any stretch. So, ironically, no pun intended, but I just did not like it. It just was not good, and that's pretty much all I can really say. Overall, if I had to give you a rating on this movie, God, I really don't know. I guess I have to give it a 4 out of 10. I guess I have to give it a 4 out of 10. And the only reason I give it a 4 out of 10 is because there were good things about it. I love the horror sci-fi element. I like the fact that Josh Trank didn't treat this movie as a superhero movie. I like the fact that the Thing CG, at least in certain points, looked cool. I like the fact that Doctor Doom had these cool Akira powers. I like those moments. I like those certain aspects of the movie. I liked pretty much the first 40 to 50 minutes of the movie. Everything else, not really. Everything else is complete trash, and it's like watching it's like going back into like, watching Batman and Robin, Catwoman, Ghost Rider, fucking Green Lantern, X-Men Origins, Wolverine all over again. It's just one complete mess, and it has no real vision. It's like, basically, and I stated this in the podcast, but it's almost like, and it's freaking obvious, but it's pretty much like if Josh Trank, he finished the movie, he was happy with it, he made his version of the movie, and he went up to 20th Century Fox, and 20th Century Fox got an early screening to that movie. They saw a rough cut, and they were like, Josh Trank, do you like vacations? Do you like fucking tropical islands? Well, we're going to give you a free ticket to go over there for like a couple months, and you know what? Don't worry, we're going to take care of this movie. The second that fucker left and turned his back, 20th Century Fox grabbed two big old fucking scissors. They grabbed their fucking Human Torch fucking powers and started fucking up this movie, cutting it in different directions, mixing things, reshooting shit that did not need to be reshot, and then fucking ruining this movie. There are big what ifs with Fantastic Four. What the fuck happened? This movie had a lot going for it. 20th Century Fox, the studio that gave you X-Men Days of Future Past. Hell, I'm pretty sure after this movie they want to take that off the posters, but they made that movie. It was awesome. That studio made that movie. It was awesome. X-Men, Planet of the Apes, awesome franchises. The cast, Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, freaking Toby Kebbell, Jamie Bell. A-list actors, amazing. Josh Trank, right off the gate of fucking making Chronicle, and hell, he was gonna make a Star Wars movie. Hell, that's never gonna happen. He was a golden child of indie cinema. Chronicle was an amazing indie movie. And the writers, Simon Kinberg, coming right off of First Class and Days of Future Past. This movie was supposed to be the one gem of 2015. It was supposed to be the, reboot, the imagining of a fucking franchise. And this movie does the complete opposite of that. It's a train wreck that defines train wrecks when it comes to comic movies. I've heard lots of people say, oh, this movie makes the prior Fantastic Four movies look more like the Fantastic Four. I can't really deny that, and that's sad, because I fucking despise those fucking Jessica Alba, Chris fucking Evans movies. No offense to Chris Evans, he does a good job at Cap, but he didn't do a good job at anything else pre-fucking Cap, and those movies suck. I lost all hope in humanity and in comic movies. This movie really, it scares me, and I hate to say it, but it really makes me deny, or really doubt, rather, the future of comic movies. We're in the golden age of comic book movies. We're in the fucking comic book movie renaissance. We were supposed to be past the days of Green Lantern. We were supposed to be past the days of X-Men Origins. We were supposed to be past those movies. And we're not. This movie defines that we're still in this world where stupid people who are in charge of big franchises think they know better than a director who has a vision and fucking wants to make their version of a movie and completely messes this up. This movie defines the fact that studios just need to let directors do what they're good at, and that's making a good movie. Filmmakers, they know what they're doing. Let studios, you need to let them do that. This movie just shows you that there's a lot of movies, mainstream, movies that are still heavily, overbearing. Studios just completely overbear their filmmakers and make complete shit. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to bash this movie any further, but go into this movie with an open mind. Please, if you're a viewer, if you're watching this review, go check out Fantastic Four. Have an open mind and be constructive and come up with your own verdict. And you will see. And this movie does not have a good version. It doesn't have a good vision. It has like two specific visions. You have Josh Trank, who wants to make a horror sci-fi Fantastic Four movie. And then you have Fox, who wants to make a superhero Avengers movie. And they're battling with each other, trying to find out what this movie really is. And that's the defining silver line of this movie. This film does not know what it wants to be. It's trying to be an origin story. It's trying to be a horror sci-fi movie. It's trying to be an Avengers movie. It's trying to be an MCU movie. It's trying to be, a Chris Nolan movie. It has no vision. And that has a lot to do with Josh Trank and 20th Century Fox butting heads and not knowing what they really want to do. And I don't want to sit here and bash the cast, or bash Fox, or bash Josh Trank, or bash Simon Kinberg. But all I can really say is, what the fuck happened? This movie was supposed to be amazing. Did not do that. What the fuck happened? That's all I really can say. In the comment section below, please let me know what you personally think about Fantastic Four, the 2015 reboot. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think that were okay with it? What did you just downright hate with this movie? I can't even speak anymore. I'm spinning. My mind's I just, like, that scene where, like, Doctor Doom, like, blows up motherfucker's head. That's how I feel right now. I'm just like, So at the end of the day, comment below. Let me know what your personal thoughts are on Fantastic Four. What are your personal thoughts on the future of Fantastic Four? There's a lot of varying questions. Like, a lot of fans just want Fantastic Four to revert back to Marvel. A lot of people just feel like, just make a sequel. And then there's other people who are like, don't touch them at all. And then there's other people who are like, hell, just let Fantastic Four cross over with X-Men. I personally have no idea what the future Fantastic Four franchise could be or will be, but all I can really say is this fucking movie makes me not care, and that's sad. The only people who, like, fuck Fox, fuck Trank, fuck the cast, like, no offense to them, I don't want to bash them because they're wonderful, creative people. They make good quality work, but they fucked up with this movie, and this movie just makes me not care about the Fantastic Four franchise, and that is the saddest part. And the only people who really suffer are the comic book fans, because we don't want crappy movies, we want good movies, and this movie is just not a good movie, and it's sad. But overall, comment below, let me know what your personal thoughts are on Fantastic Four. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Joshk12. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. I hope you guys enjoyed, and this has been Joshk12.